Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Well, guys, we're still on 66.6 thousand subscribers over on Evolutionary.
And doing good.
Absolutely. EEARTS. We were talking about the Russian fighters that took down that drone, and how everything is ramping up over there. And Heartzone, we were looking at Narasimhadeva. Today we are going to be starting over here where we saw plumes of yellow smoke leaked out of a chemical plant over in New Albany, Indiana. Authorities are currently investigating after a significant chemical release at the Bluegrass Chemical Specialties plant in New Albany, Indiana. The incident prompted police to issue a temporary shelter in place. Officials at the plant confirmed that the yellow haze observed was due to the release of nitrogen oxide. And they did give the all clear afterwards, as this plume of yellow haze could be seen just drifting over town. Kind of ominous. Lots of chemical releases lately, guys. Lots of different things going on.
I know, I think I saw something on the news, like on average per square foot, how many chemicals have been released. And it's just a ridiculous amount, and it's so not necessary. You could tell this whole thing is so... Gosh, the engineering work is so deliberate. It's hard to watch, but you know what? In a lot of ways, we have to watch. We have to keep an eye on what is going on so we know what to do with ourselves.
And this tweet says, I've never seen this type of flood control measure before. They're dealing with a breach in a levee by filling up trucks with dirt and then dumping the entire truck in the levee. That seems, it just seems like there must be a better way, don't you think? There must be a better way. As we look at the lines in the skies, and I was thinking about the lines in the skies yesterday, because we had, instead of kind of the patchwork all over, there was just 4 straight lines that kind of just stayed around without turning into that monstrous, hazy, grayish, whitish, silvery cloud that it usually does. Felt like they were putting something else up there yesterday. I'm not sure what.
I don't know. It's just so hilarious because the government taxes us. Like, how much money do we give to the government? And people are using their own trucks to try to stop the levee from, flooding everything. It's sad. We're in a sad state, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about the fact that so much money goes to taxes, so much money goes to healthcare, and, all the money you spend on food and everything, meanwhile, things are being put over your head every day that you have no idea what they are, or maybe you do have an idea if you've gone over to Geoengineering Watch and some of the other ones that have been monitoring this for so many years. I mean, I first started paying attention to the skies and the stuff that was being put up in the skies in the late 80s and the early 90s, and it was certainly an eye-opener. Multiple residents evacuated after 4 eucalyptus trees fell onto 4 duplex homes. This is Starling Ave in Union City. 3 of the duplexes are yellow tagged. The 4th building is being assessed, but the city might have to red tag it. And this is the Bay Area, and this is one of those things that happens when the ground gets so saturated that it cannot keep up the weight of the trees.
No, and I have heard of that, time and time again. And these eucalyptus trees, they're beautiful, but man, they're big and heavy.
Now, we did have a Noreaster up in New England, up in the Northeast. More than a foot of heavy snow fell across parts of the Northeast during the first Noreaster of the season. Thousands of residents without power, dealing with fallen trees and other debris, made travel dangerous as you look at beautiful Burlington, Vermont. And I think Cindy would really love Vermont's rolling hills. Beautiful state, gorgeous. And this is Lake Tahoe. Look at where this guy is, right? He's up here. Holy cow, that's a lot of snow. I mean, wow.
I know, that's incredible when these things happen and we get these pictures. And I mean, gosh, those trees got to be covered up too. I mean, burr.
Yeah, you have trees that are completely buried in snow. I mean, and so we still have a ways to go with the melt. Now, this was from last night. More than 330,000 customers were without power in California at 3 p.m. local time. As the next atmospheric river takes aim, there might be a little reprieve. Now, as the moment, 192,480 without power. Looks like we have 12,000 over in Idaho, New York State 30,000, and Vermont 26,000, 65,000 in New Hampshire, 48,000 plus over in Maine. So, in Massachusetts, we have, there we go, 27,000 without power. It is winter, and I seem to remember the worst storms, I thought, kind of come through in March when I was living up in New England. Even occasionally April, you would get a big snowfall. Coming soon to Florida beaches, massive, messy, and perhaps record sargassum, which is a seaweed, and it's kind of yucky to go rolling through it on your way to the nicer water. Well, this blob of seaweed spans 5,000 miles. Wow. Weighs an estimated 6.1 million tons. And it's threatening to blanket Florida's beaches and Caribbean islands with the smelly piles of decaying brown goop. Yuck. Yeah, absolutely. We see all sorts of things in these times. Actually, as you can see here, we actually had a G2 magnetic storm go underway. This was yesterday. Interesting because, again, this is where they said, well, that CME is not really going to impact us. If it does, it won't do much. Well, again, these are not normal times at all. So it actually gave us a G2 storm, a moderate storm, which is not what would have typically happened. But then again, these aren't typical times. And when we look at what's going on with the magnetic pole reversal, which does take time to do, and again, we realized there were those out there, I always get it mixed up. Somebody had predicted that we were going to have a crustal displacement event this year, which we don't really see. We don't see that in really our lifetime for sure. Now, we are kind of, I could only speak for myself. I'm kind of getting up there. So, again, we might only be talking so much more time, but we just don't think that's the biggest thing to worry about in this world when we have the leadership on the planet that is, doing all the things it's doing, the banking situation, the economic collapse, and absolutely plagues that have been upon the land, and the food supply issue. These are all more pressing, and certainly the WW hashtag number 3 is vastly more pressing than worrying about magnetic pole reversal that's going to lead to crustal displacement events in that movie 2012 type of scenario, or the day after tomorrow scenario. I wouldn't sweat those things. There's a lot more that we're facing right now.
Definitely. And I mean, when I think of the crustal displacement, I mean, that is so magnificently huge. I just don't see anywhere to hide from it. I mean, everything is going to be pulled out from under us. Hopefully, it'll be a quick death, but I don't see any way to run from it. So why be afraid every day? Look at what you can do. Focus on what you can do. If you're in a situation where you can get out of a big city, focus on that, because that's something doable. And we got to keep pulling ourselves back and looking what's in front of us and doing our best for that day. A crustal displacement is just so huge. I don't know where to hide from it.
Well, that's where people have gone inside the earth, and also have been taken out and brought back, literally. So, again, it's something that I wouldn't fear in our lifetimes. we have remote viewed looking forward, eastern Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi. Yeah, we do see some sogginess. We do see some flood activities and all. But we still see a lot of the same trees standing around 2050 and then around 2100. So it's not like everything has been rolled over. And when we were looking too, and again, this is just us and what we got, but this is just our channel and we're just sharing what we get. Instead of regurgitating what others are getting, we're sharing what we get. So, I mean, we, again, don't really follow all these other channels, only out of the fact that David Devine is a good friend that I will go over and check in, see what he's doing, like once a week or something like that. And often that's when we communicate. But other than that, we don't pay attention to what other people are doing. We certainly don't look at other channelers. We don't want to look at other channelers. We want to just get clarity ourselves from our guides. And this is what we're encouraging you guys to work towards. And some of you are, doing that on a regular basis. We work with a lot of people on a regular basis. It's really common to see people every 2 weeks for spiritual coaching, energy work, things like that. And, the ones that we're working with, they're getting so in tune with their guides. It's just staggering. These are times of great ability to increase to a level that I don't think people would have thought they could have achieved when we're talking about clarity with building your telepathy, building your clairvoyance, your ability to sense, even perhaps see, and certainly feel and hear from your guides, because we all have guides. It's just a matter of tapping into them. And one message, we did get in touch with the Galactics, the Galactic Federation, our contact Laurel there. And she was saying that they are very, very busy because people are actively reaching out to them. And so they're able to help more. And so I wanted to share that with you guys because that was part of the last message we got a few nights ago, was that they have been extremely busy with people reaching out to them and acknowledging them. So while they can't interfere directly in our human experience per se, when we ask them for guidance, when we ask them for things, they can show you signs. And it's a matter of reading the signs. And that makes me think about, the Native American side of things is, Cindy and I both have Native American heritage. So many people do. And even when if you've ever had your genes looked at and all, probably they came back with surprising numbers and surprising results, because again, the history itself that we're given is just not even close to right. So, again, we are all mutts. We again are also not truly completely indigenous to this planet.
I think a lot of those DNA things anyway, they're also directed because they don't want people to know how much of that indigenous being is inside of them, because we can definitely tap into it. If the larger amount you have, I think you can tap into that more. But even if it's a small amount, you sit there and you focus enough, you can pull that life from your blood and you can read that DNA. I mean, life is so curious. There's so many mysteries out there that they keep from us. And the only way to find everything out about you is to go within.
Absolutely. As one of the controllers taps into the recording right now, we get that little sound there that's been happening a lot more lately. These articles too are talking about how we understand the progression to a degree of the magnetic pole reversal, but the numbers that they've shared with us now, they've stopped sharing. They just don't let us know where we're at. And we do know, I think it was it Maverick or
I think it's Maverick Star.
Maverick Star, I think, has his own equipment and all. and was monitoring it. But, again, I would just really encourage everybody to, again, work on clarity for yourself. So it's very, very tempting to see all the chaos and say, I need a drink. But the reality is we should see all the chaos and say, I need to go meditate.
Yeah, that's the best direction to go. If you're confused and you don't know what to do, I would avoid numbing it. I would avoid avoidance. I would go within and find clarity, because we always want to do the next best thing. What is the right thing to do? Because so many of us, we have families, we have children that depend on us, or other people that are depending on us, and we just have to keep building ourselves up, making ourselves stronger and stronger for them, for whatever comes across our path.
So a nothing burger, coronal mass ejection, just hit Earth's magnetic field, and yet it sparked a geomagnetic storm, G2, a G1 currently in progress. As discussed many times before, Earth's ever-waning magnetosphere likely occurring in line with a magnetic pole shift, and perhaps low solar activity, as well as other poorly understood forcings, is resulting in even minor impacts having a larger than usual effect. So as this was saying, our magnetic field is weakening down some 20% from the 1800s. The waning's due to two key factors: low solar activity and our planet's migrating magnetic poles. As the Earth loses its dipole magnetic shape, again, it could have multiple poles. This is some of the stuff that we talked about when we first put the channel up a lot. But the thing that we want to also realize is that, unfortunately, who are we relying on for all these readings? We're still relying on the power control in place on the planet, because they have all the technology, they have all the tools, and they give us, for the most part, all the readings. So we want to be careful with that, and we want to sense into it. And this is something that we are not trained to do per se, and many people, it's really foreign. They just want to look at the data, what they're told is the data, analyze it, and come out with a result. But again, if it's all been given to us to lead to a certain place with a certain purpose, with a certain framing of the events that are underway, we can have distortions. But again, if we can develop our own intuition, our own knowing, you can't replace knowing. There was somebody that got irritated with the one we did yesterday, where Cindy was channeling the message from Yeshua over on Evolutionary, and they're saying it can't be Yeshua. It can't be Yeshua. You got to look to the Bible for what Yeshua says. You got to look to the Torah. It's like, that's the controllers. You have to directly connect to actually know anything. You could KNOW, knowledge with a K, but it's not knowledge with a G, as in direct experiential. And other people have channeled Yeshua and can channel. And anybody can, when we are in the golden, when we're in the silver, and even when we're in the Bronze Age, we can communicate via telepathy. And if somebody is not embodied, it doesn't mean you can't reach them. In fact, we've found that there's virtually nobody you can't reach. Pretty much. Again, this is all part of the control system. And not understanding how so much of humanity is still completely locked up in this control grid, and just going along blindly and taking for granted that they're being told the truth in one thing or another, which is again part of the major revelations of the great unveiling that we know of as the apocalypse.
It depends on frequency. Like, what frequency can you tap into? I happen to be someone that can tap into, kind of low frequencies, and I can tap in very, very high frequencies too. But that's where all the years of the mantras, meditations come in, and getting yourself to that space. So when you do these things, you raise that frequency and you tap into that individual. And we can all do it. That's the amazing thing now. And that's the thing the controllers want to shut down. And anybody who sees somebody who might be stepping outside the bounds of the controlling book of the Bible, well, they're going to just bark and nip at you and try to put you back in that box because it makes them feel good.
Well, it makes the controllers uncomfortable when we don't stay in that box. Eruption at Nyamulagira volcano. This is in the Congo. Aviation color code red, 15,000 feet. Another active volcano. We've had quite a few of those. And we have an asteroid coming by. Asteroid 2023 EY. It's going to fly past Earth at 0.6 of a lunar distance. So a little bit farther away than half a lunar distance. Now we've discovered, or they've told us, that the moon's literally in the Earth's atmosphere. And isn't that curious, right? So this is half the distance, or a little bit more than half the distance to the moon. Now usually when we see a lot of these that come within a lunar distance, they're really, really small. This one's not tiny. This particular one they're saying, and again we got to trust them, is between 46 and 98 feet. So this one might make an impact if it did hit the Earth. And the thing is that, again, Cindy's picked up on something that's fiery coming from the sky. Now that could be a variety of things. I think DJ57 was talking about satellites.
Possibly satellites, because he listens to me talk and he got his own visions and he sent me, could it be satellites? And yeah, because it was like really shiny. I saw like flat plates, but really shiny. So it's a mystery, but definitely something coming from the sky within the next few weeks. So maybe this is it. I don't know.
Well, satellites could be, and then gosh, if you're putting it that way, then it makes me think in terms of the Hopi prophecy, when it talks about a dwelling place falling from the sky that many people take to be the ISS or something along those lines. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. We are in the time frame, and it does feel like the WW hashtag number 3 could start at any time in earnest. Of course, we were talking about that drone being taken down. So Credit Suisse shares tank over 30%. Saudi backer rules out further assistance because it would be over a 10% breaker point. And now we see over here, Credit Suisse has a probability of default at 47%, up 38% from just a few hours ago. Why is this key? Because this is one of those ones that they say is a globally, systemically important bank. It's a primary dealer and a Forex counterparty of the Fed. So this is a big one. This could show, if this was to default, again, this would be a very, very ominous sign in many ways. But again, everything must be wiped out before you can totally rebuild the system, and we understand where we stand in the greater scheme of things. After all, Klaus has spoken, Yuval has spoken, Ursula has spoken. They've all spoken. They've all given us what we understand. That great wreath in the sky, yeah, it's part of it. It's part of it, and the war is part of it. Newsom failed to disclose personal ties, including his bank accounts in Silicon Valley Bank, while lobbying for their bailout. This is illegal. It's okay. They always do things that, again, they believe they are above the law. The law doesn't apply to them, is the way it's perceived. So this is what catastrophic sea level actually looks like when it rises horribly. This is 1898. This is 2017. If anything, it looks like it's gone down a little bit. Does it not? I mean, and it could be high tide, low tide. Maybe this is high tide, that's low tide. In other words, it certainly hasn't gained much, right? But again, what do we expect? These are Neil Armstrong space boots. Nice flat soles. They're not going to get much grip. One step for man. Yeah, one step for Anunnaki kind. Yeah, okay. We see. And yet we still have the little guys of the world going to turn into the big guys doing their thing, tending to the horses. Look at him. I think he's getting more on him or her. I think it's a him. But hey, the horse appreciates it. Adorable. Talk about adorable. Look at these two buddies.
I mean, this is so cute. It's hard work being a little baby coming into this world, moving from one world to the next, and then all this chaos. And it can make you so sleepy. This is like the most precious thing. Spend 10 seconds and just look at this. Isn't it sweet? I can't, it's cuteness overload is what they call it, I think.
And look at how the bird props his head up. Here, I got you. Okay, go ahead. Now you could rest.
Oh, isn't that precious? You don't have to be of the same species to keep each other warm and snuggly and feeling loved. Now, do ya?
No, because the bottom line is, that the soul that inhabits the puppy might have been a bird in past life, and the same thing. It might be vice versa. Again, ultimately, we are consciousness having a temporary experience. In this case, as a little puppy or as a little chick, it's just a temporary experience. It's a ride. So again, it's all how we're going to react to it.
Yeah, it's hard work to play like they do.
Absolutely. As always, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.